Good afternoon. This is Becky Brown from 8K Miles, and I'd like to welcome you to User Access Certification as a Service. 8K Miles is a cloud and security company. We've been in the identity and access governance domain right from the inception. We specialize in providing solutions for our customers that are easy to consume and fill gaps in the marketplace. We are helping organizations in their business transformation to the cloud by providing end-to-end identity, governance, and cloud solutions. Today's panelists are Tom Crowley, Director, and Sadish Mowgli, VP of Engineering. Both come with deep expertise in the identity domain. Tom, I'll turn it over to you for today's presentation.
Thank you, Becky. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to join us. So today the agenda is going to be very simple. We're going to talk a little bit about access certification and why we need it, the trends that we're seeing in the market, the traditional approaches to user access certification, and then how we should have a solution for delivering user access certification as a service. So let's talk a little bit about why access certification. Basically, it comes down to a couple things. We need to reduce risks associated with inappropriate access, users having too many accesses, too many entitlements, and of course then meeting regulatory and compliance requirements associated with those inappropriate accesses. What we're finding is that when you start looking at your identity and user certification, that really the real value of managing your users is with your access recertification process. And that's where we're seeing the biggest gains. And we're also being supported in this by the analysts out there. You know, if you listen to Forrest or Gartner, you'll see that they're saying, you know, if you're going to spend any money related to identity and management of your users, you should focus on the identity governance, making sure that the right people have the right entitlements. So I'd like to just take a quick step back before we start going into the governance side of things and really talk about where all of this stuff started, right? So it all started with identity management. You know, several years ago, we had this holy grail called identity management. It was supposed to solve all of our user problems, right? We have all these data stores. We have all these users in different applications. We can bring them all into one data source or one identity source and solve all of our identity management problems. However, what we found is that half of those implementations failed on some way, shape, or form. So identity management wasn't meeting the expectations of the business. And there's several reasons for that. The first being it's a complex solution, right? When you're dealing with multiple data sources, multiple user repositories coming in from multiple sources, you have different accesses that individuals needed. You have security concerns. Then you have users wanting to federate using their Facebook and those types of accounts, Google, to authenticate in, and they only want to authenticate once into the system. So now you need single sign-on. So it was a very, very complex solution or problem that we're trying to address. The second issue associated with identity management was the fact that we took bad data and we ended up with bad results. What I mean by that is we thought this holy grail, if we swept all of our identities into one location, bringing all of our database identities, bringing AD, bringing all of those identities into one location, then we'd have an easier time managing it. Great, except for the fact that we brought in entitlements that users shouldn't have had, and what we ended up with was, instead of multiple repositories with bad information, we had a single repository with bad information. We also approached identity management like it was a piece of software. Let's give it to IT, they'll install it, they'll get it up and running, and then the business users will just use it. Well, the reality is that didn't work, right? You really needed to understand the business processes. You needed to analyze how you were using those identities, what needed to be accomplished, and really re-engineer how you were doing things. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And what ultimately ended up happening is business and technology had no alignment. So the IT department spun up an identity system. The business users didn't see the value in it and understand how to properly use it. The result, of course, access breaches, right? Too many entitlements, too many people having access to things that they shouldn't have. And, you know, it still continues today. So our approach is slightly different, and we're starting to see a lot more support from others in the market and you know, the analysts and such joining in on this. So our approach is to start with identity governance to begin with. Let's make sure that we have good information about our users. Let's make sure that we're bringing in only our users, and then let's worry about administering to them. So our approach is I start with identity governance, and then last mile, the identity administrative part of it. And if you start looking at some of the analysts, they're jumping on board. They're really seeing the value in taking this approach. So if we look at going back to user access certification and identity governance, we're seeing two different things happening in the market today regarding how people are managing their or doing their user certification. The first is a manual process. The compliance manager, you know, supported by IT, basically goes out there and pulls a bunch of data feeds, bunch of Excel spreadsheets, tries to figure out how to correlate all of these things, you know, goes in the conference room, pastes them all up on the wall, and, you know, tries to understand what users have access to what systems, and are there any SOD rules, you know, segregation of duty issues that they may have, and then how do I feed this stuff back to my, you know, my managers. And what ends up happening is that the compliance manager supported by IT ends up spending a ridiculous amount of time pulling all this data together, getting about half of it right, sending it off to the managers who look at it and do one of two things. They either look at it and go, I have no clue what these entitlements are because they're too cryptic for me to understand, so I'm just going to rubber stamp it. It's, yeah, my users all need that information. Yeah, that's fine. Or they absolutely do nothing with it. I don't understand this. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm putting it off to the side. I don't understand the value. I don't see the value. And then what ends up happening is the compliance manager in IT now is tasked with hunting down these managers, hunting down these VPs and directors, and getting them to attest their users, which of course does nothing but cause grief for the IT department as well as the managers, right? So a better solution is a software solution. There's software out there now that will take those data feeds, take your identity information, and pull it into a software solution that'll help you correlate that information, understand what the what managers have and what entitlements their users have, what SOD violations that or rules that need to be incorporated, and help you do that. Great solution. However, it's an expensive solution, especially when you consider the fact that you're not using that on a daily basis, right? So what we're finding is that whether you're using a manual process or even an automated process, right, where you've paid the price, you've bought the software, it's still labor intensive, it's still resource intensive. You have to support it with infrastructure. Software has maintenance associated with it. It's difficult to create an ROI, especially when you're doing it on a manual process. From the software perspective, you're using a piece of software maybe once, twice, maybe 4 times a year. It's hard to create and justify an ROI on something that you use so infrequently. And because of that infrequent use, it's a niche solution. So it's difficult to maintain skills in-house. It's difficult to, keep people skilled up, keep the current versions, those types of things. So, user certification is a complicated and costly process today. But we think we've come up with a way to simplify it, and that's offering it as a service. So what we can do is we can take your data feeds, whether they're flat files, database endpoints, Active Directory. We'll take all of those data imports into our Access Governance as a Service solution. Alternatively, if you have an identity management system in place, we can take that information from your identity management system. And frankly, we don't care which one it is. You pick, it doesn't matter. We support all the identity management solutions out there. And we'll take that data, we'll work with you to, set up your campaigns. We'll make it very, very easy. So all the back end, all the heavy lifting associated with the infrastructure, with the support, with running the campaigns, we'll do on our side. So it's a simple process for you once we get things up and running to create a campaign, send it out to your business users, and then get the reports back. So I'm going to walk you through kind of this process a little bit here. So what we see as this service doing for us really is we're simplifying the process. We're focusing on the business objectives, right? We don't, the technology is irrelevant from your perspective, right? It doesn't matter. We're doing it in the cloud. We have a pay-per-campaign model, so there's no software costs associated with it. There's no maintenance costs associated with it. There's no CapEx expenditure because it's a service. And you can utilize it as often or as infrequently as you want. So if you have yearly audits that you need to do or certifications that you need to do, use it once a year. If you have quarterly ones or biannual, use it 2 or 4 times a year. It doesn't matter. You use a service when you want to use a service. So when we start talking about setting up a campaign, it's a very simple process that we've come down with too, right? So we help you define what users need to be certified, what data feeds need to be included in those certifications. So depending on what you need to certify to, you may need all of your data feeds, you may need a handful of them. Doesn't matter, we'll help you define what data feeds you need. Set the length of the campaign. How long do you want it to run for? What audit requirements are you looking to meet? What SOD rules are you looking to enforce? And, coming out of it, what type of reporting do you want? And then ultimately, what are you going to do with that tested data? What are you going to do with it once you've figured out what issues you have? So going back to that second point that I said is bad data in, bad data out. So one of the first things we'll do is once we get your data feeds in, we'll clean that data, right? We'll do some data cleanup. Here's a simple example of what I'm talking about, right? In your AD domain, you may have 60,000 plus users, right? We start breaking this down, 40,000 plus AD users, and what you find is that half of them are suspended, maybe half of them are active. So you start with 61,000 plus identities, and really what you have are 23,000 active users. So now instead of starting with this huge mess of users and groups and things, we're only focusing on the people that are active in your system. So to start a campaign from a user perspective, again, going to your business users, it's real simple. They'll receive an email. There's other ways, of course, but this is the easiest way for you to do it. If you want to send it, create a portal and do something else with it, you certainly can do that. But what we find is most companies will send out a simple email to their managers. In the email, you have everything you need to know regarding the campaign. You have when the campaign is due, who to go to if you have any questions, and a link to go out and to start the certification process. Now, this template can be branded for you. You can have whatever information. You can have your logos on there. You can have whatever information you want to include. We can add it in there. This is just a sample that that we use. So once they click on this link, it'll take them to the portal where they've already been provisioned. We have all of their information, and all the reportees are mapped to them. So they'll log into the portal, and here they'll see their users and their entitlements. So here you can see this user here has several entitlements, and you can from here you can decide what you want to do with those entitlements. So basically, your managers have 4 things that they can do. They can accept the entitlements, they can reject them, they can justify them, or they can delegate the attestation to someone else. So let's take a quick look at that. So here's an example. Edgar here has a bunch of different entitlements. He's got 10 entitlements selected, right? And I, as a manager, have a couple of choices here. I can approve it, or I can reject it, or I can do other things. So here it's a simple matter of, highlighting the ones, clicking the ones I want, and either approving or rejecting them. Very simple process. You can see here on the screen there's a couple different things that you can do. You can approve, reject, or reassign. We know at this point that I'm overdue. Shame on me. I'm 5 days past due on this. And so by simply clicking on this, I can attest these users. I can also justify why a user has a certain privilege, right? So here, for example, there's a segregation of duty violation, something that we've defined, that the organization defined as a violation. We don't want someone in his role to have this access. However, I, as a manager, see a need for him to do this. So what I can do is I can justify it. So I can say, no, I want him to have this. I approve this access, and this is why I approve it. Now, by adding this comment here and approving it, I create an audit trail. So that comes back and says, when we run that segregation of duty report, we'll see that we have these open violations, but these are the reasons why. And there's lots of reasons why, right? I'm changing jobs inside the organization. I've been promoted, I'm moving departments, and while I'm training someone and being trained, I need accesses to both departments. So in here I can say, John needs customer service for the next 2 weeks because he's transferring to a different job and he's training someone now. So now that there's audit trail there, so now we can go back in 2 weeks and say, okay, John no longer needs this. Let's revoke those privileges. And lastly, you can assign the privileges to someone else. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to ask my manager or one of my peers to do my certifications for me, or I'm new in this role and I'm not quite sure if this person should have these entitlements. So I'm going to escalate this to my manager. So I'm going to ask my manager to review this one and handle this one for me. So there's lots of reasons why you would want to, reassign, the certification process to someone. And here it makes it very, very easy. And again, all of these can be set up by you. So we can define, or we can help you define who should be the next person in line to reassign those privileges to. So now once a campaign has been kicked off, it's, as an administrative person, you can manage a campaign, right? So you can see this manager has, or this administrative person has, several campaigns going on right now, and you can see where they're at. The first one, the financial compliance campaign, is, it's 5 days remaining. The SOX is 14 days remaining, and you can see where they're at in the process, right? So the other nice thing about this solution is that, if you go back to, that manual process where, okay, people haven't certified, and now we're having to track down managers, we're having to track down their bosses to, get them to do their certifications, their attestations. Now we can create a simple process that nudges them along. So instead of having to track them down, we can send out a friendly reminder email that telling them that you only have a certain number of days left to attest your users. You have 2 weeks left. You can also set it up as an escalation. So, 14 days out, you can send out a friendly reminder. 7 days out, you can send out an escalation to his manager, prompting him to remind his employee to do his certifications. So it takes the onus off of the IT staff and the IT people to be the bad guys saying, you guys need to attest your users, and getting beat up and getting a ton of grief on the backside. This is a very simple process, very non-intrusive, and it still gets the job done. So again, progress reporting. So once once you run the campaign, you can then go and see the different types of reports that you have available to you. Now, there is some 20 plus different reports. This is a SOX compliance report. You can set up various dashboards based on what specific campaigns you're running or what's important to you, so you can see what's going on with your compliance reporting. And then you can run the reports. So here's a SOX certification report. So you can see the users. There's been 84 approved items, 13 rejected, and 2 that need reassignments. So very, very simple, very, very easy to use solution. So the end result, right? The end result is you have full compliance reporting. You've confirmed your user, so you've mapped all your users to the proper entitlements. If you're using roles, you can define and create new roles based on the information that you're getting back. And you have reporting on all the SOD violations. So now you have all the information on your attested users. So a little bit more about our service, right? It's hosted in Amazon. As Becky had mentioned earlier, we focus on helping companies transform with their transformation to the cloud. That, and we help them do it securely. So our expertise is in security and cloud transformation. We've been in the identity and access governance domain since its inception. We have thought leadership in this space. We've helped define many of the standards that are out there, around identity management and single sign-on federation. It's a nice little simple user portal. Very, very easy for your managers to come in and attest their users. We keep your information secure at rest or when it's active. Data in motion or data at rest, your data is always secure, and we have the expertise and the protocols and the frameworks in place to do that for you, and we're more than happy to share all that information with you. You can define the length of your campaign. Many people start with a 30-day campaign. Some go more, some go less. It doesn't matter. You can define what that campaign length is, and you pay per campaign. So you're not tying yourself to, a piece of software or a process that's long-term. You can do it on a per campaign basis. And we've even tried to make the pricing and the implementation of it very, very simple. So we put a standard package of solutions available. So our standard package, it's real simple. Based on what your needs are, again, going back to, what you're looking to accomplish, the data feeds that you're bringing in, what SOD rules you're looking to set up, what compliance, you're trying to adhere to. There's a one-time onboarding fee that addresses all of those and takes all of those things into account. And then once that's done, it's a simple pay-per campaign. So once we've set that up, it's X for a campaign, it's X for the next campaign, whether you do it one time, 2 times a year, or every month. We do have some custom options available. If you recall, I had mentioned that we can take data feeds from your existing identity management solutions. So if you want to integrate and do closed loop remediation, we can do that. So we can integrate with any identity management solution that you're using. Even homegrown solutions, we can work with you. Our team has a wealth of experience, developing connectors and tying into different types of applications. We can integrate that data or integrate this solution with your identity management and give you the ability not only to generate these reports and see who shouldn't have what accesses, but then do something about it, right? Take those accesses away. Make sure that those SOD violations are remediated. Make sure that if someone moves to a different department, that after those 2 weeks when they don't need that information, that they're shut off automatically. So we have that closed loop remediation. We also can help you with utilizing your existing software solutions. So if you do have a governance solution in place and you're finding that it's difficult to manage it, or you simply don't want to manage it, we can do that for you. So we can host it in the cloud, or we work with several of the identity identity governance organizations out there that offer the software solutions, and a lot of them we're working with, and we can now take your on-premise license and convert it to a SaaS license. So all of that infrastructure that you were dealing with, all of that maintenance, all the upkeep, keeping people skilled up, we can convert that from your on-premise to a SaaS model. Or if you simply just want somebody to help you, we can certainly manage. We have professional services, we have managed services where we can manage your on-premise solution also. So having said that, that's pretty much it. As I mentioned, it's a very, very simple process, a very simple solution. I'd like to take this time now to open it up to questions. If you do have any questions, I would appreciate you can, email them. I'm sorry, not email them to me, but message them to me or chat to me, and I will. I have Sadish here on the line, and we'll be more than happy to address any questions you might have. Okay, so the first question that we have is, we primarily use a model where system owners and role owners provide the reviews versus managers. How can we set this up? Okay, so I am going to, let me bring others on here. So again, it's actually a very simple process, right? So we would simply treat those role owners and system owners as you would a manager. So when we define the setup, if we go back here, as I had mentioned, if we go back as to what we're going to do with as far as that campaign goes, we would define those role owners and those system owners as the managers, and those people would be doing the user attestations. Any other questions? No questions? Okay, well, if there's no other questions, my information is right here. My email and my phone number. Also, Anand Kumar, who's our vice president, AK, as we like to call him. We are both available to answer any questions you may have. We're going to follow up with a little poll for you guys, to get a feel for where you're at. We always love hearing, feedback in the market, making sure that, that what we're preaching out there is really, what the market needs are, and making sure that we're addressing those market needs. Okay. Okay, it looks like we have actually one more question here regarding data security in AWS. So how we're handling the data security in AWS. So that question I would like to actually ask Mr. Sadish to address. Sadish?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, we get asked that question quite a bit with this offering, and our response to that is we have a cloud security framework that we have implemented in this particular solution, and we essentially handle security at different levels. It includes making sure data is encrypted at rest, as well as in transit. We also have implemented privileged access management for our administrators who administer the system. On all access is logged. We have a complex security information and event management system, as well as network firewall, which handles network perimeter security in the cloud. And we also take care of things like encryption, wherein the keys are being maintained, are not exactly in the cloud, but are maintained outside off the cloud. So these are certain controls that we have in place, which allow us to offer a very secure system for our customers.
Okay, very good. So we have another question here regarding onboarding users. How long does it take to onboard users? Actually, that's a good question. It's a very simple process, right? So, once we have the data feeds defined and we do that correlation, it really is a very short process. So what we find is that, in less than a week's time, we can have all of that data correlated into the system. And we have set segregation of duty rules available, based on the different compliances and such. So we can quickly and easily get those segregation of duty rules defined and help you set up the campaign. So typically you're talking probably a week's time in order to get everything set up. Question: do we provide HIPAA reporting? Yes, there is HIPAA compliance reporting. As I mentioned, you saw the SOX reporting. There's PCI, there's HIPAA. Most of the regulations, we have 20-something standard reports that adhere to all of the different regulations out there. And if there's information that's not on those reports that you're interested in, we can create custom reports. So there are custom reporting capabilities available. So any bit of information, anything that's unique to your organization, we can help you with that. Okay, what about homegrown endpoints? Homegrown endpoints, like I had mentioned, there's a couple different ways that we can take data feeds, right? So we can take data feeds either via a connector, so we can feed data straight from your system into our system, or we can take flat files. So there are ways for us to take any homegrown information, whether it's CSV files or whether it's through a data feed, into the system and help you attest the data in those systems. Do we provide this on Microsoft Azure or only AWS? It's whatever platform you prefer. Quite frankly, that's entirely up to you. If you prefer that it be deployed on Microsoft Azure, we can do that. We are partners with both Microsoft Azure as well as Google. So, any cloud-based provider that you're looking to have this hosted on, we can work with you. So if you have a relationship with an existing cloud provider, we can help you leverage that relationship. Okay, can you take my can you take my on-prem? Yeah. So can you take my on-premise solution and host it for me? Yeah. So we can forklift. We can move your on-premise solution to the cloud. So we can host it in the cloud for you. And again, platform of choice. It's up to you where you want to, to have it hosted. But we can absolutely host it for you. We can manage it for you. We can, again, run all the campaigns for you. Can you certify cloud users and resources? That one I will give to Sadish.
Hey, Tom, can you repeat that question, please?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you certify cloud users and resources?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there it's just the cloud users are considered as another source for us, and wherein we fetch in the data and we can do certification of that.
Okay. And it doesn't matter where they're at. They can be on Azure or Amazon. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yes. Doesn't matter if they're on Azure or AWS. As long as we have access to that source, we have capabilities of extracting that data and running campaigns on that.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit about that? How we do it and such.
Maybe I'll have Sri talk about it.
Hey, hi, this is Sri. So we have a connector component, a light footprint connector, which can be installed on-premise or on any other cloud infrastructure, which would have a secure tunnel connection with our solution, and we would be able to build connectors which can, through the connector gateway, which can help us consume the data. So the data can be consumed from LDAP endpoints or from database endpoints or even from cloud database endpoints, irrespective of whatever flavor of cloud we're using. So that could be Amazon Cloud or Azure Cloud.
Okay. So the other question that just came in was, can we see a demo? Yes, we can absolutely show you a demo of the system and how it all works. So again, this was a webinar where I really wanted to keep it high level, keep it very simple, but we can certainly create a custom demonstration specific to your to your needs, to your workflow. So what we like to do in those situations, really get an understanding of what you're looking to accomplish, and then we can show you how this system can help you accomplish that. So POC with one endpoint. So the question is, can we do a POC? Absolutely. Typically we look at like one endpoint to do a POC with. If that's part of your process, we certainly can do that with you. Many times we find that once there's a good understanding of how this works, there's really no need for it. But if that's part of your process, we can absolutely do a POC with you. And from an engagement standpoint, this is a service, right? So most of the time, we're receiving data feeds from you. So a lot of it's done off-site or off-premise. But if you have needs, if there's specific requirements that, or if there's reasons for us to, we are more than happy to come on site to help you. So we can do it either on site or off site, whatever your requirements are. So any other questions? Okay. Well, it seems the plethora of questions has quieted down a little bit here. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, again, thank you for your time. My name's Tom. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. If you'd like to see, a little more in-depth a demonstration or get more information, please feel free to reach out to me or to AK. We're always happy to assist in any way that will prove useful to you. We'll follow up with this. I believe we have a poll that we're going to send out to get, as I mentioned, some feedback from you guys. We'd greatly appreciate you giving us some feedback. Some of the, what are you doing to solve some of these problems? What are some of the issues that you're running into? How are you overcoming them? And, is this maybe even a solution to help you? So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and have a great day.